After coffee break, we want to try to get a little closer to the reality, get back to reality. I will start promptly. Imagine, let us everyone go to MS SQL, or let us support MS SQL. I'm not used to this microphone. So the guys with beard, I think many of you do have beard, yeah, right now. And when we take Postgres or Windows, or there are some cases when you work with Windows, we start 1C, we enter people, but what are we facing in the end? It's just a new song. Postgres is working slowly, like Dima said, or some classical stuff, or it works not in the way that was imagined, not in the direction we were not. And when you use SQL, you did not need any administration. And so these are the basic flops and the basic consequences of unsupported use. So my name is Andreev Sergey. I've seen Postgres for the first time in the mid zeros, at the beginning of the new millennium, and my friend PhD in technics, he told me that Yahoo works with Postgres, and Yahoo has the biggest DBMS ever. And I thought that, oh great, why not to try it? And in 2007 we tried Postgres. We bought a new server, installed Postgres. We also installed Fedora. Everything ran very well, but it did not work. Then we made a file share on the server and worked on the basis of file share, because the documents in the organization for where there are only 100 people as staff, they were not working. More than 10 years have passed. I managed to understand Postgres. I got out of the room, like Brodsky told, you shall not go outside of the room. And I just tried to make a presentation. So this is the bus that we are taking from the school to the bright future, perhaps to Postgres. But still we see some problems in the transition. So the transition problems, migration problems, are the following. The business has its own needs regarding the productivity and the safety of the product. Of course, business is into safety, but reliability is more. Are you interested in safety? Everybody? No, I don't think so. I've seen many businesses that had safety only for the sake of safety, or for the sake of the budget, but not for the sake of safety per se. Support, if something is broken. Scalability, when we experience growth in data, what shall be done if the system dies? Is it possible that we can make it scalable? And the operating costs. So if we say, if you go to the management tries to understand everything in terms of money, and the operations costs are very important. But still, the productivity and reliability is more important for the business in the end of the day. If we say about reliability, the reliability is a banal redundant copy, reserved copy. It is the possibility for the system to reserve for the sake of its persistence. This is a mere backup. What were the backup problems in Postgres? The backup took so long time. If we needed some instance of a base, and we needed to take it out of from backup, it took very much time. On InfoStart, there was an article, a brilliant article, where there was a suggestion to make a separation between backup configuration and everything other, and you could run it parallel. You could choose this way. There is Postgres Pro Backup, like an utility, PG Pro Backup, and this utility program application can solve this problem. And also there is a possibility to reserve and restore catalog. It's not a binary not a binary copy, but this is a real catalog that can be restored and reserved in a real time. But unfortunately, you may lose some data because it takes it takes more than 1 month. Then Postgres experienced problems with incremental backup. Actually, we could make only binary dump for a certain period of time, and the rest was solved in a very complex way through mechanism of reservation, through copy of the wall, WAL, or catalog, and common disks. You will see it on the next slide. And I just rewrote it from the website of Postgres.
The mechanism of fault-tolerant cluster. Everything in Postgres is related to the fact that we did not have out-of-the-box tools that would support incremental backup. But there is a special application on Python, this is Barman. It can do incremental backups. Using replicas, we can do all of this. As I know, PG Pro Backup can do it as well. These are the main problems, the problems of supporting persistence. And Postgres has a lot of opportunities. Actually, I look at the options to organize fault-tolerant cluster on Postgres. This is an open software, and everyone writes a lot of solutions for OpenSoft. These solutions allow us to use standard mechanisms in Postgres triggers, for example, to transfer data to another instance. And in another instance, it's possible to get similar data at the same time as master does. In principle, well, I'd like to tell about the following case. The problem of dividing LAB and LTP loads is present in many cases, but it is not always solved, and they think that it will cope for reading, for processing large queries. As the previous speaker showed you, a lot of temporary tables and a compilator and query optimizer was used, and due to optimization, time was increased. And if we divide LTPE and lab load between the bases, because LTP is operative load and lab load is the load to get a section of data, they can be divided quite well. And all lab can be transferred to replica. In the previous company where I worked, MSQL was used, and it wouldn't cope with the load. Using one and the same physical server, we allocated 2 bases. One base was read-only snapshot. It lasted several seconds, 300 gigabytes, and this snapshot was providing lab load and OLTP load. This is about processing documents. Was conducted on master server, and we had no more problems. So the load decreased from 99 to 30. The same thing is true about Postgres. It's nothing new. If we divide the load, we will increase performance by the factor of 2, even if we use one physical server. fault tolerance. So we can see 6 of them here. You can use a normal network catalog or network storage and connect it, so if one computer failed, you can use another one and nothing would happen to the network storage. You can replicate the catalog and transfer all. You can use only one, that is master-slave, trigger, synchronous replication, PG pool, replication of queries, CARDA, asynchronous replication, multi-master. This is used for Postgres itself. I think that 1C will not work with it. And there are various enterprise solutions from Postgres Pro. There are a lot of them, more than 10. And there are a lot of options regarding division of fault-tolerant cluster from the teams that are engaged in it. Security. Here we have no problems with reliability. Reliability is very good. There is an opportunity to do backups and divide loads. Security. This is Russian software. If we take Postgres Pro and Postgres Pro Enterprise, it has certificates in stack. That was all about security. Of course, it has SSL encryption as well, but they are not the responsibility of Postgres. And this is another important issue, support. Where can we find specialists? As it was already mentioned, if we buy Microsoft SQL Server out of the box, we have functionality that satisfies us. And if we take Postgres out of box, and it allocated 128 megabytes of memory, and if one CF weighs 1.5 gigabytes, of course it cannot work fast. So you have to amend configuration. Where can we find specialists? PGConf, for example. I think that this is the place where you can find specialists, where you can meet new people, talk to them. And where else can we find specialists? We have to train specialists. Of course, large companies frequently send their employees to various trainings, and Microsoft had this sphere well-developed. Postgres is developing it right now, so it's possible to attend some trainings and learn something new, and Postgres has a very good documentation. So, if you are motivated enough, you can grow your own specialists from the people you already have. I think that you do not need a lot of time to understand what parameters are responsible for what features. So when I worked with Postgres, I took the last 12 version and worked with PG Bench. Compilation keys allows us to increase performance by 20%. I can tell you about it if you are interested. Performance. This is the second reason of implementation faults. So, I told you a very old story, 2007. We installed Postgres because we didn't manage to install Windows on the server at once. Why? Because we didn't have drivers and we could not download them anywhere. The supplier did not include the disk with drivers in the order, so we could not install Windows. We installed Fedora and it was installed successfully. But nothing worked because we did not open configuration. And only when my colleague downloaded some programs, we checked them and did something, we managed to do something about it. But actually, this work was finished only after I left this company. So why is everything slow? Well, now it's not really slow anymore, it works quite fine. And at that time it was slow, and once again it's about config. Let's see what we can do about it. Well, this information was taken from 1C website. They still have it on their website, 1C and full auto join. In this case, 1C notion can be understood just as Postgres notion, because they developed a very complicated construction for it. These constructions were equivalent to each other, but they were not equivalent in terms of performance. Sometimes it does not work the way you want. And in that case, you need to understand why you want to connect two tables. According to 1C website, in Postgres, full outer join was not implemented long time ago. I guess that now they changed something. I don't know whether they have changed DBMS or not. Performance 1C and virtual tables. Most virtual tables are subqueries. So this is the way they are arranged in the hardware, especially if we speak about the latest ones. So, it is proposed not to connect with virtual tables. When I attended the training for experts, they told me that I should not connect virtual tables. Why? Well, actually, this was a general recommendation. And it was aimed at improving the work of Postgres. MS SQL can connect virtual tables quite well, and Postgres cannot connect with them as well as it does. That's why it's better not to do that. Why do we need so many temporary tables? Well, you've seen that with temporary tables, Postgres worked faster than MS SQL. Temporary tables do save hours, and if there are a lot of data, if the base is quite large, you can use them. But of course, 1C specialists print the following comment: select asterisk from X and insert into the temporary table. Please try to fill less information into a temporary table. Performance, what can be done about it in a fast way? Well, actually quite a long time ago on InfoStart, I wrote that nested loop can be switched off in Postgres. Actually, I was not the first person that wrote it. I guess that some other specialists had this idea at the same time as I did. Nested loop can be switched off, and my friends that tried to get ready for the expert said that nested loop is bad. Nested loop may be quite good sometimes if you connect a small sampling with a large sampling, then add join will work much worse. Nested loop is better. Another option, join collapse limit. This is a band for changing the sequence of queries inside your code. So if you write leave join, leave join, leave join, then the sequence will remain in the planner. if you print join collapse limit is equal to 1, but you should be sure that your query was right. Well, it's actually to join small data with small data. Try not to join large data with small data. If you think that when you select large data, you will use some index, well, actually there is no sense in the index if you select half of the base. And after that, I'd like to mention that on Linux, Postgres can work faster. Open data sync shows additional results. There is always an opportunity to tune something. Well, I don't know about contemporary Windows where Linux can be installed, but on my hardware computer, the result was 2 million and something in terms of jet, and my friend has i7 that is quite advanced. Windows 10, Linux console, it showed 500,000, so actually it should work on the order of 3 million. PGTune and config. So what is it? If you enter PGTune on the web, I guess you will find a Ukrainian website. Maybe not only this website, maybe there are a lot of them. And you can input the number and you will see config. You can just input Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V, and you will solve a lot of problems. If we speak about start, and if everything is very bad, you can do fsync is equal to off. Actually, this should not be done, but they say that if you have cache on controller, you can do that. But actually, I do not understand how cache on controller can save this sync off. But please do not do fsync off. Actually, the last Postgres I had worked and gave about 1,000 transactions per second with sync off, and about 8,000 of them without sync off. 8 times only. Well, I think that it will be faster. PGTune is better. So I told you about the history, about previous times, and what about the reality? There are some major customers that did not manage to migrate. In our company, we are engaged in financial technologies, and we work with various customers. We develop solutions, and we have very talented people. Sometimes they are so talented that we forget that MS SQL file base does not have any cluster index. Sorry, it has cluster index, and PostgreSQL does not have it. If you select a table area in your query, B table part or N, that is the number of line in MS SQL file base, it will have a correct sequence 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and in Postgres it can be like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And unfortunately, when we decided to use Postgres, and the node was semi-public organization, they decided to use it, but it turned out that it doesn't work, and it turned out that there is a closed module that was quite large with a specific logic, and it was important for it. We amended this mistake using order by, but we did not even think that order by would help, because order by is about a result, and in this case two results are merged into one. We have two queries here, a query to table area and a query to the master table. So order by can arrange information inside this query. There is no cluster index in Postgres, and we hoped that lines will be arranged in order. And finally, the customer has refused. We solved the problem, but time was lost. And after that, there was another option. Well, I don't remember what configuration it had. It was about 10 years ago. It was not me who was responsible for it, but it turned out that it was very difficult to close the month due to a large query. Financial results were to be calculated and the query was really large. We amended it and we made it so that this query would work normally in Postgres, but client decided not to take this risk because there are a lot of such queries. Architecture and queries should be written in such a way that they would work normally on Postgres as well.
And there is also a third approach, a very long restoring of the consecutivity of documents. So there are basically two problems. The first is 1C in the mechanism of restoring of the documents. If you add one document into 1C, just fix it. If you don't include it in any chains, so imagine we had one document that created a personal account. And the 1C suddenly could fix all the documents, excluding the excluded documents. So 1C began to work with this type of documents. And there were also long queries for financial documents that were optimized for the on the previous slide, as I showed you on the previous slide. So it also was burdened by this case. And we were not searching for any grounds. The clients just told us that they are not happy with this productivity. So all the cases that I know when clients wanted to migrate back from Postgres were combined with the low productivity. And there were objective reasons for this. And these reasons were based on the queries, because as the first guy told today, after 2 or 3 weeks someone begins to create something, and this creation just dies on the basis of Postgres when it tries to work with big data. So we will have a round table right now. Yes, this is all live. Thank you very much. Thank you for your attention.